When I woke up, I saw Benjamin Sesko is pretty much signed. He's agreed with us. He's rejected Newcastle. £72 million. Now, is that a deal that's worthwhile? We're going to discuss in a bit. But right after that, do you know what I saw? That we are now linked to Baleba. If you check out the video I made earlier about my favorite top 5 targets, it had 3 people on there. 3 people who hadn't signed at that point. Cunha, Mbeumo, and Baleba. Now, at the time, I thought Mbeumo and Baleba are just going to be fan signings. They're not players that the club is actually going to look for. Because you know what? It seems too obvious. And we never sign the players that are too obvious. You take example Mason Mount. That's one player we for sure knew we don't want. Nobody wanted him. The most top red, the bottom red, whatever you want to call it, nobody wanted Mason Mount. Yet the club went through, signed him for 60 million, put him on 250k a week, and we are now just trying to sell him. And we were all right in hindsight. But Mbeumo is a player we all wanted. Some people would have wanted Sesko, but most of the fan base also want Baleba. So what we're seeing the club do, anybody who had doubts about Ratcliffe, and I'll hold my hands up, at one point even I thought maybe Ratcliffe is losing his mind, maybe Wilcox, maybe Barada, they are not the guys. But the more you just give them time, you give them patience, and now you see that players that we're linked to, first of all, even for the striker for example, we were linked to Benjamin Sesko, we were linked to Ollie Watkins, sure Nicholas Jackson, but that wasn't a real threat. It was between Ollie Watkins and Benjamin Sesko. Now, even if you do not like Benjamin Sesko, even if you think there are flaws to his game, he might not be the most out and out finisher. He might not be a killer up front. But he does have some raw physical attributes which can help in the Premier League. So even if I think Gyökeres is better than Sesko, does not mean Sesko is necessarily going to flop in United. Because you just look at the players that he has around him. He has Mbeumo, he has Cunha. So let's just say, like hypothetically, Sesko turns out to be an average player. We still have Mbeumo to help him out, Cunha to help him out, Ahmad to help him out. And from what I'm seeing in preseason, Dogu is not that bad either. And let's just say we get Baleba. Baleba is going to bring in a new dimension, something that we've been missing since Pogba. I'm not saying he's as good as Pogba, but when you see how he drives with the ball, how he's good defensively, how he's good offensively, long range shots, he might not have a killer pass all the time, but we're getting that dynamism that Pogba brought. What sometimes Mainu does miss out on, we're going to cover it with Baleba. So you could even hypothetically put up a Mainu Baleba pivot. Or you want to go more aggressive, you could even put a Casemiro and Baleba pivot for this season. Imagine this team. Imagine this front six. The front three is going to score goals. Sesko, even if he's not an out-and-out finisher, he's good enough to facilitate the other players. At the same time, he's going to do his own part. We have Mbeumo. Mbeumo, we've seen what he does at Brentford. If you guys watch that Everton game, I'm pretty sure most of you are going to be excited. Not because of the 2-2, not because of how our midfield shape looks like, not because of, let's say, a second half result. But look at the first half performance. That first half performance that I saw against Everton was arguably one of the best performances I've seen from any United player, any United team in like the last 5 years. I would say since Ole Ball, I've not seen a performance like that. It was purely vibes, but at the same time, it was high energy. What Amorim did was send out the players. Amorim said, you know what, Ahmad, you go play. Mbeumo, you go play. Cunha, up front, you go play. And then we had Bruno right behind him. Everyone creating with each other, and some of the connection, some of the link up between the attackers, I've not seen that in such a long time. I would say I've not seen that since Martial, Greenwood and Rashford. And that was all the way back in 2019-20. There is a fluidity about the team. And from what I'm seeing in reports, we're going to spend more money. So everybody thought after we spend on Cunha, you spend 62.5 million. Now they don't have any more money because United are broke apparently. But then we go and sign Mbeumo. Mbeumo, who we only wanted to spend 50 million. Then we made it 55. But now when you look at all the deals that have happened since, you look at the Madueke deal, you look at the Alanga deal, And now you're comparing Mbeumo to these guys. Mbeumo, who has done it for, let's just say, 4 years in the Premier League. Now it doesn't seem so bad. 70 million. So now you have got 62.5 million and 70 million for Mbeumo and Cunha. Now you're thinking 130 million on attackers, pounds. That's United's window over. So Newcastle get very cocky. They think Benjamin Sesko is going to be ours. Well, you don't have a chance. You spend so much money. We know you don't have money. You have financial issues. How are you going to compete with us? And the United just say, was that? Okay. So you've bid 95 million pounds. We're just going to bid 90 million and we're going to secure the deal. And guess what we did? We paid less than Newcastle. We told Sesko, you know what? If you really want to join us, go reject them. You come back to us and you just say we're the only club you're interested in. And if you're and if we are the only club that you're interested in, Leipzig can't just sit and wait for another option to come, because this will be the only offer that they can accept. Which is why Newcastle put a higher bid. They had Champions League football. You could argue they have more established players. They have Isaac, they have Tonali, Guimaraes, blah blah blah. And still, the United pool worked. And if you thought that was all, after spending what is about to be a 90 million euros on Sesko, when all the add-ons are completed, obviously, we're now going to go and investigate Baleba. Maybe we could go and secure Baleba. Because United do value him at around 70 million pounds. Sure, Brighton value him at around 90 plus 10. But 90 plus 10, 100 million pounds and 70 million, it might seem like a large difference. If there's a compromise that can be reached, that's pretty much 85 or 90 million. If we pay 80 plus 10, if we pay 85 plus 5, what we get with Baleba is we are not only solving a hole in our midfield, but we are getting one of the best CDMs, one of the most progressive midfielders in the Premier League, one of the most eye-catching midfielders in the Premier League. And with Baleba, we could transform our team from potentially sitting at around 6th to, you could even push it up to a 5th or 4th. And along with all these guys, don't forget, we still are in for a goalkeeper. And considering all the money we have, we could hypothetically still sign Baleba after selling Garnacho. So Garnacho, if you sell him for 30 or 40 million pounds, we have the ability to spend even more money, which is pretty much double the amount. So if we sell him for 40 million, we could pretty much use up 80 million pounds. So that clears up enough money to go and buy Baleba. Once you're done with this, there's Sancho money coming in. And it's because of the sell-on clauses, it's because of the cuts that Jim Ratcliffe has made. That is why we have been able to sign the players we have been. So anybody who was complaining early on about, cost cuts, about people cuts, it's paid off now, hasn't it? And isn't this what you wanted anyway? This is why we just have to be patient sometimes. The window does not end on July the 1st or on August the 1st. It ends on September the 1st. So as long as we've got our players in before the Man City game, nobody's complaining. There's a possibility we could now go after Baleba, we could go in for Donnarumma, because they're quoting what, 30 million pounds. 30 million pounds for a keeper who's just won the treble. 30 million pounds for a keeper who won the Euros on a penalty shootout, who saved penalties in a penalty shootout. A goalkeeper who's only 26, by the way. A goalkeeper who's respected around the world. 30 million pounds. This could be the steal of the century. You get now Baleba. Imagine this window, guys. Forget the spend, right? Because it's a whole new concept about people caring about spend so much. It's about the players you get, about how you're going to fit them into the system, blah, blah, blah. So first of all, we sign Cunha. Secondly, we sign Mbeumo. Third, we sign Sesko. Fourth, hypothetically, we might go in for Baleba. If we are going in this confident, this means that work has been done behind, guys. Otherwise, you don't get reports from all the credible outlets second after second after second. If it wasn't concrete, we wouldn't get so many credible reports instantly. And we all know that United are interested in Donnarumma, even if they're keeping checks. This is something for later on in the window. Am I fussed if I get Baleba by, let's say, by the Fulham game? Am I fussed about waiting for a keeper for another one more game? Not really. Because if we get Baliba as well with the front three and Ahmad and Dogu and whoever else we may play, that attack alone is enough to beat Arsenal first of all. After seeing the horrible performances of Arsenal, I think that front three and a decent enough midfield would be enough to beat Arsenal. Move it ahead to Fulham. Fulham, we can play pragmatic and win it. And if you now got Baliba for the next game, and for the Etihad game, you have Donnarumma in as well. What is our real weakness left? You could say wing back, left wing back, right wing back, backups. We're really struggling to pick out where our next weakness is. You could say it's a partner midfielder. But if Baliba is as strong and is as convincing as he has been at Brighton, I don't think that's going to be an issue. So what do you think about United's window? What do you think we're going to do next? Is Baliba even an option? Is the money worth it? Would you sign Baliba? Would you go in for somebody else completely? Comment that down below and see you all in the next one.